Business Report. I'm Marty Collins, and this morning with us we have the Vice President of Western Reporting, Brent Rasmussen. Good morning, Brent.
Good morning, Marty. Glad to be here.
Well, glad to have you on our program. We appreciate you taking time to visit with us this morning. I know you're a busy man, and you've got a lot of great things happening. It's an honor for us to have Western Reporting back again on our program. As many of you know out there, Western Reporting is the nation's leading expert on background checks and criminal screening. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of tenant screening and how it relates to landlords and business apartment owners and that kind of thing. Hey, Brent, maybe we could start off by asking some of the simple questions. And this goes out to all landlords, whether they have one unit or 10,000 units. Is there a kind of a guideline as to who should be asking for tenant background checks and some sort of standard in the industry?
Well, the simple answer, Marty, is everyone should be. Whether you have one unit or whether you have 100 or 1,000 units, you all have potential risk against someone who is a less desirable element for your property. It's interesting the way the courts treat it. They simply say if you could have known about a criminal activity, you should have known, and therefore you're potentially liable.
Oh, that puts a great light on that subject. As an owner, somebody who's maybe doing illegal activities in your property, that certainly would be of vital importance. So tell me a little bit about your screening process at Western Reporting, and what kind of reports come back and what do they show?
Well, there's a couple types of screening processes, particularly in the tenant or habitational field. First of all, a background screening consists mainly of two pieces: a credit report and a criminal report. And of course, you're going to want both. Some people choose not to do both. But as a landlord myself, I wouldn't do without either one. The credit report I want because I want to know if my potential tenant can pay their bill. Included in the credit report comes a Social Security verification to make sure they are who they say they are, and to tell me the addresses that they've used in generating revenue for themselves. Those addresses are then used to identify where they've lived, so it helps us get a more comprehensive criminal report by looking up the particular jurisdictions that they might have had criminal background or criminal history in. Also included in the credit report are public records, things like bankruptcies. And of course, those are important to know. Sometimes a bankruptcy for a landlord is a good thing because it means they cannot escape the jurisdictional process of collecting rent in the future in certain bankruptcies. Other times it's a signal to a landlord that this person just can't handle money and maybe shouldn't be put in the property. The second type of report in a background screening is the criminal, which is I think becoming more and more important. Everyone's worried about, is the property safe? Is the neighborhood safe? Are the potential tenants next door to me safe? Every night on the news, we see article after article of someone in a property, maybe some type of violence against the property or against people in the property, and let alone the physical risk, then there's a huge litigation risk against the property owner or manager.
Oh, I really didn't think about that. So if you have all of your tenants, let's say you're in a multiple unit complex, and if everybody has gone through a background check, then this also gives the new tenant maybe some feeling of safety that they've got neighbors who have also been checked out and they're not living next to a sex offender or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. In our neighborhood here, just about a year ago, you might recall on the news, there was a tenant that was arrested for cooking meth. And he claimed that he was cooking soap, although I don't think the recipes are the same. And the landlord thought that because he'd been arrested, all of his risk was now gone. However, this was a student apartment, and shortly after that, he was faced with multiple lawsuits from the parents of other students saying that he had endangered their children by allowing a previous criminal onto the property. So a criminal background report will protect or help to protect everyone, including the landlord.
You know, that's a nice piece that the viewers should know out there, is that not only is it protecting you as the landlord or the owner of the complex, but also those tenants and their respective neighbors. And are you finding that tenants are using that in their marketing or whatever to approach and attract potentially new renters to their complex by saying, hey, everybody's checked out here, you can feel safe in this community?
It's actually becoming a standard. It didn't used to be that way. Under employment screening, that brought it on first. And, you know, those kinds of things began to happen, background screening for employees. But in the habitational market, we're finding that more and more, in fact, I would say the lion's share, 80, 90% of properties are now doing some kind of screening.
Well, that certainly makes sense in today's world. Now, if someone chooses to call you, and of course we encourage them to, but tell us a little bit about the process on this on your side, how long it takes for a potential landlord or manager of a complex to get the reports back, and what can they expect?
So with the screening, it's all federally controlled, particularly with the FCRA. And so any potential landlord who wants to do screening has to verify that they have a right to be able to obtain persons or people's information. You can't just go out and get credit information anytime you want on anybody. And so we actually go through a process of vetting, or a compliance process, to make sure that the landlords are indeed landlords and do have a right to this information. Once that process is done, their account's set up, and they can be ready to do screening within essentially 24 hours. With the account set up, it becomes very simple. They have a log-on, a password. They log on and enter the prospective tenant's name, address, social security, and birthday, and order the report. And most of the report comes back within minutes, or 0 to 2 hours. And depending on how complex the report is that they've asked, or depending on whether the database that we're searching has holes because the courts haven't submitted information, we may suggest or recommend that we dig deeper and go to a county level and actually pull the information that was missing from the database that most people call a national database, but in fact is at best a multi-state, because many states and counties don't submit information.
Oh, that really makes sense. And so within an hour or two, prospective renter can have an answer, and they can move forward, and the renter or the landlord isn't going to lose them just because of a long vetted out process. That's I totally love that. Now, let's say that some of our viewers have hundreds or thousands of apartments in their complex. Tell me, does your company offer any kind of custom labeling where you can use their logos? Some refer to it as white labeling. Is that something that would be an option to some of these owners?
Well, absolutely. We have many of our clients who do a white or a private label, so that the screening service can be listed as their service. And you know, I guess it's up to you to decide whether you want to market it as your service or whether you want to use a powered by, because a lot of ours list powered by Western Reporting, so that their customers or prospective tenants can know that a credible CRA with a history since 1995 of being in this business, they like the credibility of having a known CRA.
Well, that certainly covers a lot of area this morning, Brent. We sure appreciate your time on our program. Would encourage all the viewers out there, if you know anybody who owns a property or multiple properties, to reach out to westernreporting.com. They're the nation's leading expert on background checks, not only for tenant screening, but criminal credit screening and employment screening, which is some things that we've covered in other times that you visited with us, Brent. We appreciate your taking time again this morning. For those viewers who want to contact Brent and his team at Western Reporting, you can see the number on the screen. It's 855-910-8443. You can call them directly there. Or you can visit their website at westernreporting.com. They'd be happy to help. If you own one apartment or one unit or tens of thousands, please reach out. These guys know what they're doing. They're the best in the industry. Thanks again, Brent, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yes, Marty, thank you very much.
Okay, great. Everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.